Everybody, I'm Rob Ellis, not Barrett. That's Derek. I should just say da if I was Barrett, but it's good hanging. We've learned all of Barrett's lingo over the last year. We already knew it, you and I, but it's now become known to everybody. And you're muted.
It is a dictionary that only exists in his world.
Yes.
It is not Webster. It is not Ebonics. I don't know how you describe it, but it is a language that Barrett, as a matter of fact, some of his sayings, we've said this, he should put on T-shirts, to be honest.
Well, definitely the da, without a doubt.
Yeah. Long story long.
Long story long. Hotter than fish grease.
Hotter than fish grease. Well, those are old sayings. Those are old common sayings.
Slow as pond water. That's one of his.
But and you get to when
what we say, pimp size.
Yeah, pimp size. Yeah. You get when you first get to know Barrett, sometimes you go, huh? And then once you understand him, it's like it's common.
It's second language. Yeah, it's like commonplace to you.
It's Rob Bonics.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, so this is very interesting. This came down last night, Derek. Adam Schefter had it initially, and a lot of folks have picked up on it since. So we know that Jalen Hurts, is locked into a 5-year, $255 million contract, 179 of which is guaranteed.
Right.
He's going to have the highest AAV, which is average annual value of anybody in the league as of right now. By the way, this is only until Burrow or Herbert or Lamar Jackson,
exactly,
whatever. But it is what it is right now. So we know that much. But these cap hit numbers are fascinating. All right, so let's walk through it. It's for the first 4 years of the deal.
Yep.
So Jalen Hurts cap hit for this season, 2023, $6.15 million. 2024, $13.56. 2025, $21.77 million. 2026, $31.77. That's flat out incredible. I mean, you're talking about a $255 million deal.
And what is it? 179 guaranteed?
179 guaranteed.
How does Howie do this?
It's signing bonuses. I'm sure there's some kind of dummy years in there that he puts in. It's creativity that you don't get anywhere else. You don't. There's nobody that's kept up with him in terms of capology in the league. Just for example, okay, Daniel Jones, who I think we'd all agree is right? And to his credit, had a pretty good year, whatever.
Yep.
Had a decent season. Daniel Jones this year, I'm pulling it up right now. I know you guys sent this to me, so I'll give me 1 second. Where is it? Tone, you sent that to me. What if you want to hop on, where was it? Now I just lost it for a second here. I think it was like 20 something million per year for Daniel Jones. You have it too, Gunner. He sent it to both of us, but now I lost it. Yeah. All right. Anyway, Tone, if you're there, hello. Hola. Anyway, the cap hit for Daniel Jones. There's Tone. All right, Tone, jump. Bring yourself up here, dude. Here we go. There's Tone. Hi, Tone. You're muted too.
Yep.
All
right. You got me.
What's the cap hit for Daniel Jones? Because I know you sent us this stuff, and I apologize.
No, you're all good. You're all
give
good.
It to me again.
All right. So here we go. All right. When it comes to Daniel Jones, Daniel Jones's cap hits for 2023, 21 million. For 2024, 45 million. 2025, 39.5 million. 2026, 56.5 million.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think he's going to hit.
He's not seeing the back end of that.
I don't think so.
Let's just deal with the first 2 years. I mean, it's not even close.
Yeah, and then also even with the Dak Prescott contract as well. Now, granted, it's nowhere near as bad as Daniel Jones's cap hits, but at the time when Dak Prescott signed his contract, his cap hit for that first year, 17.2 million, not that bad.
Yeah.
Then 2022, 19.7 million. 2023, 26.8 million. 2024, 59.45.
So that's next year. He's at almost 60 million.
And then the contract ends. But again, it's still it's when you put it in perspective in comparison to where the money is now for quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Because obviously when Dak signed, quarterbacks weren't getting paid.
It was cheap. Everything's gone up. It's inflation and whatnot.
So it makes it that much more impressive.
Yep. Tone, good stuff. I appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you, Tone.
No worries, guys.
The way Howie has structured this thing, the Eagles have a lot of wiggle room to bring in an abundance of talent over the next 4 years. Not just one, not just 2 or 3 or 4. And even though the number goes up into the 30s the 4th year, when you think about that new TV money, once that kicks in, the cap will continuously go up every year, at least 15 to 20 million.
Yeah.
Howie's got a lot of wiggle room to do some things that he wants to do, and fully knowing there are other players coming down the pike that he is going to want to keep, and he'll jump on as he does early to sign these guys to keep them long term. What he has done in terms of maneuvering the cap is better than what Joe Banner did in his day. And Joe Banner was the best of the best when he did it.
It's remarkable. It really is. It's remarkable what's going on right now. Like Deshaun Watson's cap hit is 64 million this year.
Jeez.
64 million. Hurts combined 23, 24, 25, 26 is 71. Combined. Jeez. 4 years. 4 years.
And the way it's structured out of the back of it, this cap hit is as a matter of fact, because they'll still have so much wiggle room. Yep. Unless it gets to a point where you have an abundance of young players that are coming up on their contracts. Okay, it might make it a little more strenuous, but still, he'll have abundance of wiggle room to do whatever he wants to do with this.
Exactly.
You know,
like the notion that, oh my God, you signed this contract, the team is screwed, they can't do anything, you can't make any kind of moves, is just not the case. It's just not true. I mean, they're able to do this. Is why I don't discount a trade, Derek. I don't discount anything with Howie on draft night. And I don't just mean trading up and down. I mean, like maybe getting a player from another team, because they do have some wiggle room now. Just like you got AJ Brown last year, you got 2 first-rounders.
Exactly. And Rob, here's what we will know on the 4th year's deal. Brandon Graham will not be here. Fletcher Cox will not be here. Lane Johnson will not be here. Jason Kelce will not be here. So those big numbers will be gone. Now, the Brandon Graham's is a marginal number.
Kelsey's
but the other
number,
3,
14.
those big numbers, Lane, absolutely. And Lane's even 10 with Fletcher's a decent sized number. Lane's a big one. And Lane has already told us that he only wanted, and Lane told us last year, he said maybe 3 years at the most he wants to play. He wanted to finish out this contract. And then he might be tempted to come back, as Jason has been over the years, to keep coming back. If the Eagles decide to throw $14 million at Lane Johnson beyond the next 3 years, I think he might take it if he's feeling good physically, mentally. He still battles with going through the anxiety and the depression. If he still feels good mentally as well as physically, I wouldn't be surprised if he takes another bite at it. But it still won't kill them, because you'll have younger players. You'll probably have younger players under rookie contracts, going over the next 2, 3, 4 years.
This is why you
will
need
have
to
some of it.
Get your drafts right, and they're not.
Yes.
That's how you turn this thing over, where you're not paying these guys a ton of money, and that's how you do
it. And even when he's paid money, as we've seen with Jason, Brandon, Fletcher, the way you treat people, you may get them at a number that's conducive to where you want to be, because they want to stay here.
Yes.
If you're still a winning entity and the culture never changes in terms of how they listen to you as a man, how they take your ideas and thoughts to heart and try to implement some of them, the players committee has a voice in that locker room and with the organization. If those things remain the same, you will have an abundance of players who still want to come here because of that, because those things don't exist with other franchises. Plain and simple.
And that's why, I know some people, when they hear culture, they're like, oh, okay. Just tell me what you're doing. That's why this kind of stuff is important. Like the Eagles right now have and they have for a while, they have a very good culture in that locker room. And, the older guys, the Kelce's, the Brandon Grahams, those guys know how to police, know how to take care of things. It's important. It's critical. That's why when the Phillies lost Rhys Hoskins, I brought that up, and people were just like, he can't field, he sucks. No, he that's important in a baseball clubhouse, not to get off on the whole thing. But anyway, the Eagles have a good culture, and it's very, very important to have that, and that's how you foster this. That's how you look. Jalen Hurts. I should always mention him when I bring this up. I always go to the veteran guys. Jalen Hurts is a guy they all follow, like all of them.
Yes.
That's why you feel
At
good
24
about
years old. Yes.
Yeah, he's a leader on top of everything else.
You know, and it's not just lip service. When you hear Brandon Graham and Fletcher say, "I want to finish what I started here," you know, there's a reason why. You know, now Brandon Graham, obviously, wife and kids, they don't want to just uproot their kids, even though he had a good chance to go back to Detroit. Fletcher's not married, but he has roots here. He has a lot of things he does outside of football here. Even though he's from Mississippi, this is his home now. There are a lot of former players that come back and make Philadelphia their home now for a lot of reasons, you know, and the fact that you have an organization that tries to embrace you once you leave this organization as well and try to implement you in certain strategic. Look at players like Jason. What was the defensive lineman's name? Who's now part of the front office on a part-time basis? He was the linebacker.
Connor Barwin.
Connor Barwin. Yeah, Connor Barwin. You know, look at Mike Quick, Harold Carmichael.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Brian Dawkins for a while until Brian got more involved in his charity. They keep bringing in former players back. You know, and there's something to be said for that. And when other people hear about this, why wouldn't you want to play here? And of course, if you keep winning more games than you're losing, and you have a chance every year to get to the Super Bowl, why wouldn't you? And I'm a firm believer, and I don't know this for a fact, but I said this. We were shocked when they brought Bradbury back, and I believe that a number of the offers Bradbury was getting from teams that are trying to rebuild. Well, when you're at this stage of your career, 30 years old, you came within 3 points of winning the Super Bowl, how much money is it worth it to go back to a franchise you know that's not going to be a winning entity right now? And you look around the locker room at what you currently have, and you still have a nucleus of players that could possibly get you back to that big show. Mm-hmm. There's a lot to be said for players who really want a chance to get a shot at that ring when you consider the vast majority never even get a shot at going to a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge.
No, look, well said. And I just think you also have an aggressive GM in terms of personnel moves, but also one who has such an advantage because he was schooled on the cap and the finance part of this thing. We had Andrew Brand on a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
It was last week, whatever it was. And he was, you know, he came up with Howie, and he was talking about how, you know, the advantages that he has over some other, you know, general managers and front offices. Like signing a quarterback to this kind of contract has hurt. Even take Kansas City. Kansas City had to let Tyreek Hill go. I know they still won a Super Bowl, but you know, a lot of Green Bay had to let Devontae Adams go because of the Rodgers contract. I don't see this. Yes, Javon Hargrave, but for the most part, I think the Eagles will be able to keep their core intact, especially with those kind of cap hit numbers. That's nothing. 6.15 this upcoming year.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked. You know, when we talk about the signing bonus money he's getting and the guaranteed money, the fact that his cap hit is less than 10 million, which is unheard of, is every time that we hear about a quarterback signing a new mega deal, the front end cap hit, or at least the cap hit in year number 2, is astronomical. Now with this, I still don't know how he does this. It's unbelievable how he does this.
And
he'll never tell you all the secrets.
No, but how don't other teams figure this part of it out? That's what I can't grasp.
Yeah. I for the life of me, I don't get it. But, you know, kudos to him for being able. And it's not just Howie. Howie also has a second in command that's pretty good now in terms of the cap.
Jake Rosenberg.
Yes.
Yeah. Is excellent.
You know, so this organization, from Joe Banner passing the baton to Howie now tutoring Nick, has had a long line of people that have been heads and shoulders above everybody else when it comes to maneuvering the cap. Now, has it equated to more Super Bowl wins? No, but they're able to at least compete at a high level year in and year out. Yeah. You know, look at Jeffrey Lurie. Since he bought this franchise, has had much more success and has made this organization a national conversation piece more years than not, because of what they've done with the front office structure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they've been consistent, and when they have a down year, which they've had a few, it's almost an automatic bounce back the next year. And by that second year, they're either winning a Super Bowl or in a Super Bowl. It's happened twice. Pivoting off of Chip Kelly, 2 years later, Doug wins one. Pivoting off of Doug, 2 years later, you're in one. You know how hard that is to do?
Exactly. You look at a team like the Dallas Cowboys. Their owner loves to spend money, and he's not bashful about spending money, but he keeps spinning his wheels, and they can't get close to a Super Bowl. They can barely get past the first round of the playoffs. Why? Mm-hmm. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. Because they overpay, and then all of a sudden they have to take 2 or 3 steps back and try to reload again. The Eagles have been consistent in terms of what they've done. You go from 2017 off, and now you look at the plethora of players they brought in 17, and it translated into a Super Bowl win. Next couple of years, injuries decimated that team. People are shocked that this team, of all things, as inconsistent as their drafts were, you go out and draft a young quarterback in the second round when you just paid your so-called franchise quarterback $128 million. What are you thinking, Eagles? Now everybody's applauding Howie because they saw something that we couldn't see. Mm-hmm. Now, they've still had their misses in the draft as well, but for the most part, the last couple of years in particular, they've been spot on in terms of what they've done.
Yeah, no question. So a couple other little odds and ends here, Derek. Paris Johnson, the offensive lineman from Ohio State, is visiting the Eagles today. I've been one who's been saying from the jump, I think an offensive lineman is very possible for a couple of reasons. And you kind of hinted on it a minute ago.
Yeah.
Lane's not getting any younger. Jason's not getting any younger. As you reported yesterday, from what you're hearing and just kind of what you're hearing, it's not 100% that Cam Jurgens is going to be the starting guard next year. So there's a lot of different ways you can go with this. They could draft somebody that they feel like, at least for the interim, could play guard for you. Maybe eventually move over to tackle if Lane decides he's going to hang it up at some point.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of different ways this could go. And then Jurgens fills in when Kelsey steps aside.
And Paris Johnson, I will tell you right now, is a legitimate option for this team, at number 10. Now, just keep that in mind. He is a legitimate option. Now, they brought 30 players in. Out of that 30 players, there's maybe just a handful they would consider it taking at 10 if they stayed at 10. And Paris Johnson is one of them, So I'm not going to sit here if they take him in the first night of the draft and say, I told you so. I'm just saying, don't be shocked, people, if the Eagles decide to take a Paris Johnson at number 10. That's how they build this team.
Yep.
That's how they always, that's the one MO from Doug Peterson all the way to now. They build from the inside out. They believe a stout trench on either side of the football is the key to overall success. Mm-hmm. And you cannot argue when you look at how they cross-train their offensive linemen. When you look at how the pieces are so versatile, edge rushers can move inside at any given moment on defense. It's very likely they're already thinking about getting an offensive lineman they can cross-train to play guard and sporadically at tackle if needed by drafting a Paris Johnson.
I'm not, it's definitely not as sexy as Bijan Robinson or whatever, if you needed a wide receiver, but it's how you sustain yourself. And who better would you like to be involved with whomever you draft than Jeff Stoutland? And he's gonna, if there's anybody that could cross train these guys to play that guard spot or whatever was necessary. The other thing is, and I keep pointing this out, you can't assume health. You can't assume all these guys stay healthy. The Eagles don't have the depth they had last year. You think about it, if Lane or Mailata go down, Kelsey goes down. Yeah, you feel pretty good that Jurgens is there, but there's other positions, they're thin. So just because you take it and the guy isn't automatically going to be on the field the first game doesn't mean that person isn't valuable. For whatever Dillard was, it was nice to have him sitting there just in case, break glass in case of emergency.
Yes.
They don't have that now.
No, they don't. And that's why an offensive lineman is not out of the realm of reality for this team. They're already thinking about what do we do when they decided to let Dillard go. They're already thinking, this was back in as soon as the season ended. Okay, how do we address this? We know that Dillard has run his course here. We need to go in a different direction. What do we do? Are there enough offensive linemen that could slide to us that we could pick one of these guys up and maybe be a better product than Dillard was for this organization? See, Andre Dillard, it wasn't just physical. There were a lot of other things that equated to him not having the measure of success they hoped that he would have with this organization. And they ran it as long as they could to the point where they said, okay, we've seen enough of this time to move in a different direction now. Mm-hmm. So that's why if they took an O-lineman at number 10, wouldn't surprise me one bit. We all have our wish list of running back, whatever the case may be, D tackle, edge rusher, but their plan's already in place and they already know with the way people are talking in the draft now and the way you look at the way the board is setting, we believe that 3 quarterbacks, a minimum 3 quarterbacks will go in the first 9 slots. Then there's a bunch of other players that are sliding to them at 10 that would not slide to them if they were in like the low to high 20s that they can seriously look at now, because of where they stand.
Yeah. I just think I think that what we're looking at is a lot of flexibility on draft night, whether that's using 30 and 10 to wheel up, whether that's trading down with quarterback hungry teams or some other team that views a guy who may go before 10, moving back in 30, giving yourself more picks. You also have a lot of picks to play with for next year, which you could dangle too. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go with this thing, just depending on what you're looking for. And I think, some of this is they go by the adage of best available. Yes. But let's face it, yes and no. Like, they're not picking a quarterback. Let's just say like Anthony Richardson he might be the best available. You're not picking a quarterback. You're going to somewhat look at what you need. I don't know. I mean, like, if you would you justify taking Black Hole Sun brings up Brian Branch. I think Brian Branch is going to be a really good pro. How high can you take him and justify a safety there? But that's
there's value. There's value with him at that 30th pick. If they kept that 30th pick, he probably will slide to the second round. They may look at him at the second round as well. Mm-hmm. There's value in taking him if he drops that low, which I believe he will at this point. They need another young safety. They brought in Edmonds for 1 year, I believe it was.
Yes, 1 year deal.
What was his contract? Okay. Yep. So, and then you got Blankenship, and the jury is still out on Blankenship. So they need to look at that safety position a little bit differently now. Yeah. So there's value taking him at that 30th spot. This is a bad draft for safeties in general, but he's the one that could help you sooner rather than later.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to me, to have like a plug and play type guy, you may start the year and just kind of feel about Edmonds, or you may look at it and say, look, Reed Blankenship is better served, as a special teamer and whatever, depth guy, and Brian Branch is right there. You're right. No matter what, even if Branch can just learn for a year under Edmonds, and then you plug him in after that. So we'll see. I think that's definitely a name that could be a possibility. Like, am I mad, if they're coming away, if they stay pat and they grab an O lineman at 10 and they get Branch at 30? I'm not mad at all. I'm not one bit of that.
I mean, let's face it. Every team is also trying to get younger. As much as we talk about having the proven commodities and veteran players at strategic positions, every team wants to get younger. Every team is thinking, we have to replenish the cupboards. We have to keep replenishing the cupboards. And the Eagles are in a prime position with 2 first-round picks to do that. And they're going to have at least 11 or 12 picks next year. Mm-hmm. So right now, they're still in a great position in a conference that is suspect across the board to get back to the Super Bowl. And then they're armed with a multitude of picks next year to get even younger at strategic positions. Yeah. I mean, this team's in a great position for next 45 years to come because of the way they position themselves in the draft.
All right, let's come back. Jeff Carr, CBS Sports, you've seen him here on JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. He had a very interesting story today regarding the sort of devaluizing. I don't know what I'm trying to say. De-emphasization on the running back position. I'm making up words like Barrett now, but I thought it was fascinating, and it's relevant because there has been a lot of talk about Bijan Robinson potentially going to the Eagles. So let's dig into that when we come back a little bit, Derek. We'll throw some other odds and ends from the Eagles at you. A little bit later, we'll talk some Sixers. As they win, they go up 2-0 against the Nets last night. Phillies double dip today. The game was postponed because it was too cold. By the way, I know Chicago gets cold. It's not raining. Like,
hold up. No, see, you're talking like a novice Midwesterner this time of year. I lived it a lot of my life. For 19 years, I lived that Midwest cold. There is East Coast cold, and then there is Midwest Lake Michigan hawk Cold. There's a whole different level of cold, brother. And you know what? Now do not demean
don't
the
poo-poo
cold.
it. All right.
No,
Okay.
no.
All right. I got you. All right. We'll come back and we'll talk about the running back position in Bijan. We'll do that when we return. Don't go anywhere. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. He's Gunner. I'm Rob. All right, let's talk about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, because knowing who to trust with your finances can be a very scary proposition. I'm front of the line. All right. It took me a long time to find the right person. I finally did. And that's Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group. I trust them with my finances. You can too, whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review. You have a small business, you're trying to get your employee benefits off the ground. That's yet another resource that Jim can help you with. I know I've entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollover to Jim. I couldn't be any happier. You will be too. Give him a call, 610-996-4751, 610-996-4751. You could email him as well, Murray, Murray.Jim@principal.com. That's Murray.Jim@